Hello, everyone. Happy May. I hope your lives and your writing is going well. I woke up naturally quite early this morning. Well, early in the sense that I didn't get a full 8 hours sleep. I went to bed about like 2 a.m., which is quite late even for me. And then I woke up at 9, just like naturally, and my body just would not let me go back to bed. But I didn't feel like tired or exhausted or like I was waking up for like a bad reason. But I just had like this burst of like energy and motivation that I've decided I'm going to channel into writing. So yeah, I felt quite motivated to write this morning, to vlog as well. So I'm very excited to take you guys with me. In case you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Lily and I like writing fantasy novels. And currently I'm working on like a vampire romantasy called Slayer Bride. And I am currently, I guess, working on the fourth draft of it. So I'm reading through my manuscript of the third draft, making edit notes, all that sort of stuff, so that I can hopefully draft number 4 this year. Or rather, I'm supposed to be reading through draft 3. I've actually taken quite a big break from writing, which I spoke about in my most recent video. It wasn't really an intentional break, but I guess I intentionally didn't push myself to rush back into writing after I felt I needed to take a break for various like life circumstances. So the break started at the beginning of February and it has continued until now. Today, I think it's May 3rd. So yeah, almost exactly 3 maybe. Yeah, 3 months. Wow, that's crazy. On May 5th, it will have been 3 months. But when I filmed my little like catch up explanation video at the end of March, in there I said that I planned on writing the very next day, and that video was supposed to be me sort of like preparing myself to write again, to get over this break, to get over my various life circumstances. However, I obviously did not do that. So it's been well over a month since I filmed that video, and I am still very much in the, not writing trenches. I don't know if I'd call it writer's block, but just a general lack of energy, lack of motivation to put into my creative work. I definitely don't regret not forcing myself to write on the day that I said I would in that video. I'm really glad I let myself have a few more weeks off because I don't think I would have had a day like today where I woke up just like super excited and super inspired to write. I think I would have potentially caused myself to burn out. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But regardless, I definitely don't regret it because I think it's important to me to not make writing feel like a chore. Obviously, I am someone who takes it very seriously. Like, I would love for writing to be my career. It's hard to explain, but basically, when I'm feeling burnt out, I try to remind myself that writing is a hobby, it's a passion of mine, it's something I love to do. And then when I'm feeling good about writing, that's when I say, oh yeah, Lily, like, if we want this to be a career, we need to like step up and like make this more of like a serious writing routine and treat it like a job as opposed to just a hobby, if that makes sense. That's sort of how I shift my relationship to writing based on how I feel. So, long story short, we're writing today. In terms of my writing goals for 2026, by this point, I was supposed to be, I think, drafting. Yeah, I should have finished reading through my manuscript by the end of March, plotted throughout April, and started drafting in May. I am not even through Act 1 of my like physical printed out manuscript that I'm reading through. So today I kind of want to do a sort of like May writing reset where I start May off on like the right note so that for the rest of the month I'm sort of like slowly rebuilding my writing habit and figuring out what's going to work in terms of like a writing routine that I can maintain to try and like catch up on my like overall 2026 writing goals. So in terms of what I think I need to do today in order to, have my May writing reset, I obviously need to write at least once. So just like ease myself back into writing basically. I'm not going to set any like page count goals or anything like that in terms of like reading through my manuscript. But I think if I can just, do it at some point today, do some writing, that would be great. Before I focus on my writing, I also need to sort out my room. There's a reason why my background is me sat against a dresser and a chair, is because the rest of it is absolutely disgusting. I basically moved into a new place a couple months ago and I never really properly did the whole like unpacking thing. Also, my voice has gone so weird. I'm so sorry. So there's a lot of stuff in my room that still needs to be sorted out, put away. So I need to do that first thing, I think, just get it over and done with. And also just do a bit of laundry, a bit of tidying up. I said in my last video that like a big reason to why I wasn't writing is because I haven't associated this space with writing. So I haven't done yet any creative work in here. So it could be quite nice to like not just like go out and write in coffee shops and stuff, but maybe try and write in here a bit more because this is where I spend most of my time. So if I'm spending my time in a place that reminds me of writing, in which I feel supported to write, that could be really good. And the third thing I want to do today to help with my main writing reset is like fill, my emotional cup. It's really important that I don't go back into burnout again. So making sure that I'm doing stuff that's fun, that helps me to relax, that helps to like support my writing, but it's very much separate from my writing is really important. I have got a TV in my room and I have got a PlayStation, so I guess playing on the PlayStation could be quite good. But I'm also planning on going to the gym later and going on a run. I found physical fitness has really helped improve my mood recently, so that's been quite good. So I think if I do that maybe this evening, that could definitely help with, doing fun things and hobbies that fill my creative well. A fourth thing I want to do today that I'm not 100% sure about is I would quite like to set some very loose writing goals for all of May. This kind of like contradicts what I just said about like not burning myself out, not, pushing myself too much, too hard. But it would be kind of interesting to have a look at what my life is just looking like right now in terms of like my natural weekly timetable and what I seem to be doing, on average for each week and see where I could squeeze writing into my routine. I'm not going to like set a timetable or like a sort of writing plan I absolutely have to stick to, but it could be interesting just to see what I could potentially achieve this month as long as I don't burn out. So now I'm literally just going to tidy my bedroom and do some writing for the first time in 3 months. So wish me luck. So I actually ended up going to the shop first and picked myself up some groceries as well as a coffee to keep me going throughout my May reset. Then I found a little cleaning timer just to keep me company and make sure I wasn't taking too long to tidy. Then I made my bed, which honestly I need to do more often. I feel like making my bed just completely transforms the way that I feel, although I do need some new bedding because it just didn't look that impressive towards the end. Like I think my duvet is just really flat, to be honest. Then I wiped my desk, which arguably was the most important part of the sorting out my room process. So I just gave the desk a wipe down, gave technology a wipe down too, as well as my desk mat. And then at the end, when I put my manuscript on there, I just felt so ready to write. I think clearing that space has really helped me associate my bedroom with writing. Then I did some little things. So I made my bookshelf a rainbow, which I love. Then I also replaced this weird candle that melted. It didn't melt from fire, it melted in the sunlight. So strange. I just woke up one morning and it had somehow collapsed. So I replaced that with a straight candle and also put this dream catcher up, which was a gift from a friend, and made myself some matcha at the end to celebrate. It is so hot in here. I literally had to change my top. I'm absolutely boiling, but yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm done with tidying my bedroom. That took way longer than I thought it was going to, like quite a few hours, but to be fair, I do have ADHD, so my attention did sway a little bit. But it's now quite close to 4 p.m. and I do want to go to the gym, I think around 8 p.m. and I have to cook dinner between now and then. So what I'm thinking is rather than me going out to a coffee shop, I'm just going to write in here for the rest of the afternoon. I've set up my desk, but I just haven't basically put my keyboard and my mouse there because I need space to like open up my manuscript, which is quite big, and write notes in the margins. So I think I'm going to camp out here for a while, eat some food, and then head out for a workout. I think cleaning taking longer than I thought it was going to has actually like helped me want to write more because I was so tired of just like cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and the hours going by without me actually like picking up my book and writing. So I think because of that I'm more eager to write now. And also the space being clean has really just transformed my like relationship with it. Like I feel so much more relaxed already. I feel like my mind is just so much calmer and I am ready to just be creative. Okay, I spoke for a bit, but I was rambling, so I'm going to try and say what I just said, but in more of like a cohesive way. Basically, I was able to do a 20-minute sprint, writing sprint, and then I went to have dinner because I just got really hungry. So I knew there was no point continuing because I was going to be absolutely ravenous and I cannot work when I am ravenous. But basically, I got super lucky. It was like it was meant to be, but I managed to find an Abby Emmons live writing sprint session that was happening live at the time I was searching for it. So I joined and they were on the last sprint, sadly. So I only got to do like 20 minutes. I managed to read through 4 pages, which I was quite happy with because I was going at quite like a slow and steady pace. So 4 pages was quite good considering how like easily I was taking it and how I really just wasn't pushing myself. In terms of how it felt to write after a break, I felt pretty normal. Like it just wasn't weird. I think I definitely wasn't as familiar with my book as I was 3 months ago, which makes a lot of sense. And when I say familiar, I mean it felt like I was picking up something I hadn't read in a long time. So it's a bit like when you're reading a book and you put it down and you don't pick it up for like a week, you kind of take like a second or two to like figure out like where you were, where you got up to, what's happening, like remembering all the characters' names. I mean, I didn't forget anyone's name, but that sort of feeling was kind of like what I had when picking up my manuscript. But I think despite that, I was able to like just get back into the swing of things, back into like writing edit notes. And I feel really happy, really positive, really like purposeful with my writing. Like I feel like even more motivated to write now that I've done some writing than I did this morning. And this morning I was really motivated to write. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm like filled with like ambition and just like purpose and like this drive to like just get this book done, to get draft 4 done, which I really wasn't expecting. It was like I did my writing session and now I'm just like ready to treat it like a career again, which is just so strange. So yeah, in some ways I'm like, oh, why did I wait this long to get back into writing again? And in other ways I'm like, I'm so glad I waited this long because I think because of that I have all this energy and I'm like, as I said a million times, my creative well is just like full. Like I've really nurtured myself and allowed myself to enjoy writing. And I think maybe because of that is why I'm feeling so positive about writing right now. I think I've got 2 hours till I said I was going to go to the gym. So I think I might put like a 2-hour live writing sprints video on and just power through. But yeah, I'm feeling really positive and I'm really glad I did this today. In my second writing session, I ended up watching one of Lindy Jung's old writing sprints, so that was really amazing. They did 2 or maybe 3 sprints in the end, and I ended up editing about 10 pages, which I was really happy with, so that brought my daily total to 15, which I think for my first time writing after a break was quite decent. This scene took place in a fantasy tavern, so I was looking at photos on Pinterest for inspiration, which was really fun and just helps me to sort of not just get the location more clear in my mind and gives me some inspiration for my setting, but it's also like a fun way to romanticize the writing process. I then also turned on my salt lamp for some ambience, which I absolutely loved, and made my evening writing session a bit more fun, a bit more vibey. After writing, I ran a 5K and I went to the gym, which was really difficult, not going to lie. But afterwards, I also read some of my book, which is really cute. I've only just started it, but that's also been great for my mental health and making sure that I'm motivated to write. Once I did that, I also started writing down some writing goals for the upcoming week. Hello everyone, it is now the next day. That was me just checking my mic is actually on and you can actually hear me. But I've been doing some thinking about how I want the next writing week to go and sort of like what my goals are moving forward. So I've been doing some brainstorming in my Little Mermaid video notebook, and basically I've been thinking about how I can maximize my productivity whilst doing a minimal amount of work. I just think that's really the way to go moving forward, considering the fact that I'm writing after a break. I haven't written in a really long time, and I think it's really important, as I said a million times, not to burn myself out. So that's why I don't want to do like
really crazy, long, intense writing sessions where I'm forcing myself to write and write as much as possible. I want to do like much shorter bursts that are effective and in which I get, as much work done as possible in one space of time without having to force myself, without having to put like loads of pressure on myself. So, in terms of what I've been thinking about, I've kind of been reflecting on the last few years of writing and when I felt the most excited in one day, in one, 24-hour time period, what times in which I have felt the most inspired to write and I felt the most excited about writing, and when I've kind of had this like natural urge to write. And those times of day are when I first wake up, so either after or during my first cup of tea. So in the weekday, this will be about, after 8:15 a.m. In the weekend, it could be any time, to be honest. I wake up at a different time every time in the weekend, but it could be anywhere from like 8 o'clock to, midday. I also feel inspired around mid-morning, so that's normally around 11 a.m. if I wake up, before 12. I also feel inspired around mid-afternoon, so that's around 3 to 5 p.m. And also immediately after work, so when I just get home, so this can be around 7 p.m. on most normal days. So these are the times of day where I just naturally want to write, where I suddenly just have this desire, this urge to write something and work on my projects. I don't really need to force myself as hard as I would at other times of day. For example, really late at night when I'm just really tired, or after I've had lunch, so around like 1 p.m., or just after I've had breakfast, so that could be like 10 p.m., 10 a.m. rather. However, in order for me to write at these times of days that I've just listed and told you about, will still require a bit of effort. So, firstly, to go over the morning. Before work, I basically don't leave myself enough time to write. So even though I have the desire to do it, I've only given myself like 1 hour to get ready. And I need every minute, every second of that hour. So I can't just drop everything to write unless I wake up earlier and give myself maybe 2 hours to get ready. In terms of mid-morning and mid-afternoon, these are absolutely fine in the weekend unless I'm doing something like spending time with friends. However, during Monday to Friday, I am at work and I could technically take my lunch break during one of these time slots or two of those time slots if I like split up my lunch break into two 30 minutes instead of one 1 hour lunch break. However, I do get free lunch at work, which is incredible. But it means that I normally eat lunch and have my lunch break at a set time, which is 12:30, which is when my workplace serves lunch. After work is probably the easiest time slot to make work. I mean, I literally just come back and I'm here, and unless I'm spending time with friends or going to ballet, which I sometimes do after work, there isn't anything stopping me from writing. One obstacle I do notice a lot though is I get really hungry the second I get back from work. So I do tend to just like go straight into making dinner. And then by the time I'm done eating dinner, I don't really want to write anymore. So that's the only thing that's kind of like stopping me from writing at that particular point in the day. In terms of the plan moving forward and what I'm actually going to do to try and make, one or more of these times of work, I think I am just going to wake up earlier. I can't promise that I'll succeed at this. Waking up early isn't something I find super easy. But I will give it a go. So maybe waking up at 7 instead of 8 and then giving myself like an hour to write could be quite good. And then I'll also try and make after work work. So I think I'll just try and like get a snack pre-prepared so that I can just like eat my snack, do some writing, and then make my dinner after I've done my writing session. Again, because my lunch is a preset, I just don't see the mid-morning or mid-afternoon time slots working. But if I feel like I can make it work one day, then I might do, the odd writing session here or there. But I just, at this point in time, don't see that being an option. However, I could try and also write late at night as well as in the morning and straight after work. But again, I don't normally naturally want to write at that point in time. However, every now and then I get a random urge. I think it's normally if I start writing after work and I just don't stop, then suddenly I'll get into the flow and I won't want to, stop writing. I'll be too excited. And rather than going to bed, I'll do like a late night writing session. But yeah, I don't know. Those aren't super those don't happen super often. So I'm not like hinging all my hopes on having a late night writing session to, increase my writing productivity over the next few weeks. In terms of page count goals, because I'm reading through my manuscript, so how many pages do I think I'm going to get through? I would like to do 5 in the morning and then maybe 10 in the evening. I think 15 pages a day is a fairly reachable target, although we'll see what the reality actually looks like. But I think 15 pages a day is doable if I'm diligent with doing my morning and after work writing sessions. And that would get me to about 105 pages a week, which is great because that's about a quarter of my book. Right now, about 25% of the way through, I'm at the very beginning of Act 2. So in about 105 pages, I think I'll be at the midpoint, which is obviously 50% of the way through my book. In fact, I think it's a little bit over 50% of the way because the second half of my book is shorter. Either way, about 50% of the way through my book by the end of this week if I stick to 15 pages a day, which is pretty exciting. Yeah, so I haven't done any writing today, so I will get on with that now. And I will love you and leave you here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.